Let me stop you right here. If you're talking to the wrong buyers, your exit is already capped, and you probably don't even know it yet. This has nothing to do with how good your business is. It has everything to do with who needs it. And most founders build for buyers who are never going to pay a premium. Now, actually, before I go any further, let me remind you, if you want the option to exit a premium, subscribe to this channel. This is what we talk about every single video. All right. Now, here's the part that founders don't expect. Even the strongest exit story fails when it's told to the wrong audience. I've watched founders spend years building true strategic value only to present it to buyers who are always going to undervalue what they've created. Not because the buyer is irrational, because the buyer doesn't need what your business unlocks. And without the need, there's no urgency. Without urgency, there's no leverage. From this point on, exits don't fail in diligence, they fail at buyer selection. That's where deals are won or quietly lost. When a buyer doesn't need or have to have what you've built, your strategic value, the great stuff you've done, gets translated into risk, complexity, nice to have. And the moment that happens, every conversation collapses to average. Average multiples, average outcome. And this invisible ceiling that founders hit and don't even realize until it's too late. Most founders start with the same assumption. Who in the industry would buy us? Competitors, larger versions of yourselves, adjacent operators. Those buyers may acquire you. They rarely will overpay for you. Why? Because you look familiar. They understand your economics. They know your risk, and they believe, often correctly, that if they could build what you've built, with the time and capital, it's not interesting to them. Familiarity kills premiums. Now here's the flip side, and this really matters. The highest multiple exits almost always share one trait. The buyer is trying to enter a new market, a market that they're not in, or radically accelerate their position in this new industry. To those buyers, time matters more than price. Access matters more than efficiency. Control matters more than margin. They're not buying EBITDA, they're buying speed, positioning, and certainty. That's why some deals look overvalued on paper, but make perfect sense to the buyer that need what that business unlocks. So stop asking who might want to buy my company and start asking this: who would be disadvantaged if one of their competitors owned my company? Sit with that for a second. This single question reframes everything. It shifts your thinking from who can afford me to who has to have me, who needs me. And need creates leverage. When founders widen the lens, entire buyer categories appear that they've never considered. Companies looking to enter your market. Maybe it's vendors or suppliers. Maybe some of your customers, platform or ecosystem players. It could be public companies. It could be private companies, family offices, even sometimes wealthy individuals. But the list isn't the insight. The insight is matching your value to a buyer's problem or their goals. So let me ground this for you. When we explored options for selling one of my companies called Mountain Khakis, we did what most founders do first. We talked to competitors. And of course, they were interested. We had a great company, a great brand. We were outselling many of them. But they were interested and cautious. They knew the category. They knew the risk. Their offers actually reflected that. Then we spoke to Remington. They weren't an outdoor apparel company. They needed credibility in the outdoor space. To them, Mountain Khakis wasn't a clothing brand, it was a market entry vehicle. It allowed them to enter the outdoor industry in a way that no one else could do. So we had the same business, but to a different buyer, it was a radically different outcome. We sold a majority stake at twice the valuation while retaining some meaningful ownership. Now here's the key takeaway. The buyer you choose determines how your business is valued, how hard you've negotiated, whether buyers compare you or compete for you. Strategic exits require intentional buyer selection long before you've ever planned to sell. You don't maximize exit value by convincing buyers you're worth more. You maximize value by finding buyers who, for owning your business, changes the game. It is a differentiator for them. It changes everything. That's not luck, that's strategy. Now, that's exactly what I teach inside Exit DNA, so subscribe here and join the newsletter for weekly insights. And if you haven't watched my videos on strategic value or building an irresistible exit story, start there. This only works when all these shifts come together.